Rain, it helps for people to cultivate, so cultivate food, cultivate crops, and so it is beneficial in so many ways. So not only is rain important to cultivate food, important for us to grow our food, but sometimes rain, water itself is food for us, right? So oftentimes we say, without food we can probably stay for a while, but we can't stay without water. We can't stay alive without water. We need water. So there we can fill our stomachs just with water. Sometimes, when, of course, I have my student who would definitely tell me about that, right, Rama, about the diet aspect of that, where they say drink so much of water.
That's true.
And I also, there was an interesting article where it was suggested that, one way is for us to keep our weight in check, and also for us to, get over the issues of, not overeating and all that. Drink a whole full glass of water just before you sit to eat, so it fills up a bit of a stomach. So how water specifically is food itself. That is the meaning of the second couplet that Thiruvalluvar had written. Tuppaakku tuppaya tuppaakku tuppaakku tuppaya tuvum So when the rain fails, what happens is people will suffer from hunger, and even though a big part of the earth is filled with water, still if the rain fails. So what it means is that even if we have water, of course we all know that the mighty ocean sea has got enough water, but it is only the rain that sustains us, and so the rain is the one that will keep us away from hunger. விண்ணென்று பொய்ப்பின் விழிநீ வியனுலகத்து விண்ணென்று பொய்ப்பின் விழிநீர் வியனுலகத்து உள் நின்றுடற்றும் பசி விண்ணென்று பொய்ப்பின் விழிநீர் வியனுலகத்து உள் நின்றுடற்றும் விண்ணென்று பொய்ப்பின் வீரிநீர் வியனுலகத்து உள் நின்றுடற்றும் பசி விண்ணென்று பொய்ப்பின் வீரிநீர் வியனுலகத்து உள் நின்றுடற்றும் பசி விண்ணென்று பொய்ப்பின் வீரிநீர் வியனுலகத்து உள் நின்றுடற்றும் பசி. If there is no rain, a farmer will not plough his fields, is what Scripture says, even. So when the rain fails, so the farmer will not plough. So what it means is, we generally have a good irrigation system, but even for that, without rain, just sometimes even the irrigation system will not help the farmers. So that's what rain means. ஏரின் உழார் உழவர் புயல் ஏரின் உழார் உழவர் புயல் என்னும் வாரி வளங்குன்றைக்கார் என்னும் வாரி வளங்குன்றைக்கார் ஏரின் உழார் உழவர் புயல் என்னும் வாரி வளங்குன்றைக்கார் ஏரின் உழார் உழவர் புயல் என்னும் வாரி வளங்குன்றைக்கார் ஏரின் உழார் உழவர் புயல் என்னும் வாரி வளங்குன்றைக்கார். We talk about the benefits of rain, the excellence of rain, but we always have experienced the destruction that rain causes, right? So rain definitely causes destruction in terms of loss of life, loss of property, loss of livelihood. So the same rain that causes destruction also enriches life in the sense that it makes sure that it sustains life on earth and it gives us the food, it sustains our living, not just for humans, for all living things. So it plays the role of nurturer also, and then the destruction part of it, it is like what we can say as balancing life, and it's also once in a while, like the way a mother, when a mom or a teacher or any of the adults, when they want to correct us and lead us through the right way to do things, they reprimand us. They first tell us how to do things, they teach us the good things, and then we typically will not follow it. And we'll go ahead and do something and not only create trouble for us, trouble for others, trouble for everybody, and get into trouble. And so that at that time, mom, our mothers, our teachers, they play the role of correcting us, reprimanding us, either by words, punishing us, whichever form we would listen to. So the destructive part of the rain is that, reminding us what is important and how we need to, and appreciate what we need, appreciate the importance of rain, appreciate the importance and appreciate the nourishing quality of it. And so we don't misuse that. That's the whole point of that. Kedupadum kettarke sarva, kedupadum kettarke sarva, kedupadum kettarke sarva, matrange edupadum ella malai, kedupadum kettarke sarva, matrange edupadum ella malai, kedupadum kettarke sarva, matrange edupadum ella malai. The name of the raga that I have been singing from all the 5 verses till now, it is called Amrita Varshini. One of the important feature of this raga is it's supposed to bring rain, and oftentimes in India it has been a practice for musicians to get together and sing this raga Amrita Varshini whenever there is drought, whenever rains have failed, and it has been proven time and again that it had brought rains. So it's almost like the seeding of the clouds to bring rain. So Amrita Varshini had, and my daughter here and we have had experience of the Amrita Varshini really bringing rain. There was a few years ago we were presenting one of these concerts which was exclusively on Amrita Varshini, and we had been rehearsing so much. It rained so much that audience could not come forward. And at that time, so ever since then we think, we look at the weather, and so far while I was singing, okay, no rain so far.
You'll be fine.
Yeah, so we don't need the umbrellas today. So which means our Amrita Varshini had not reached up to the...
We did something wrong.
Maybe it's a lighter version of the Amrita Varshini we are singing. So the next verse that I'm taking, it is in the raga called Megha Ranjani. This is also another raga that is attributed to rain. Megha means cloud and Ranjani means beautiful. So the beauty of the cloud. So the clouds, oftentimes we look up and the passing clouds, sometimes I don't know, I have done that. I'm sure a lot of you would have also done that, trying to look up and identify some kind of a shape in the cloud. And then when it moves, it's like I have seen a tiger moving, a lion, all creating all these kind of imaginations, the beauty of the clouds. And when this cloud, some of these dark clouds are equally beautiful because we know that it is full of this water and any moment it is going to pour, the rain is going to pour down. So that major Anjali, the scale, it's like a little deeper, so we can imagine it as a darker cloud at this point. Where it pours. So even our lawn dries up. So when we have a drought, when there are no rain, so in the last, luckily it is now fall and our grass, we are not very keenly looking for our lawn to be bright and green. And whereas in summer, I remember last summer there were several weeks often when we didn't have enough rains and a lot of our lawns were looking brown. So that's what he is saying. In the 2nd century, he talked about when the rain fails, you don't even find a blade of grass green. So again, why is it we need it? So he is giving us both the positive aspect of rain, the benefits, and what happens when we don't have rain. So sometimes it would be visible for us in our eyes. We would look at our lawn and say, oh okay, it is brown, there is not enough rain. But oftentimes we don't pay attention and we don't look at what is to be done for that. So we just go with our life. So these are some of the reminders how we should look at it, observe it, comprehend that, take the message, learn and see what we need to be doing. Find solutions to that. That's the point. The next 4 verses, the couplets I have taken and tuned it in a rag called Amrita Behar. This is a very rare raga in our classical music. So this raga, as of now, there are no known compositions in Amrita Behar. At least I don't know about the Hindustani, the North Indian style of music. I am not very familiar. But in Carnatic music, we don't have any compositions in this raga. So there is a book which is like a ready reckoner, we call it as a treatise of ragas. So it has listed about 35,000 ragas. It gives us the permutation combination, it gives us the ascending and descending scale, and it also would give us something called a parent raga, which means there are 72 parent ragas, which gives us how each of these notes, music notes, should sound in combination with the other notes. So there are 72 scales, which we call it as the parent scale, and from that we have about 35,000 of what we call as Janya ragas, or we can say child ragas. So they are born out of. And each of these 35,000 are attributed to one of these 72 parent ragas. And there is a book which lists all of these scales for us. And we can say each one of us who are even well trained and have been practicing for decades, we would probably know 1% of this. So sometimes with the reference of what we have in the book, we know the ascending and descending scale. We look at the parent raga and try to understand how it should sound, and that's what I have done for this raga. So when I looked for it, and I was looking for ragas which can be associated with rain, and of course I didn't want everything to be tuned in an Amritavarshini and Megharanjani. I wanted to look at explore possibilities, and while I was researching for the verses in the literature, I was equally trying to look through the ragas, what something I could do unique, and so I chose this Amrita Behag. And the name first captive was, I'm talking about nectar. Amrita means nectar. So that Amrita, oh, here is nectar. That's how in my head I looked at it. And then, so I looked at the scale. I had no idea how the scale would sound. So I tried to look, and I couldn't find any audio recording. So I started playing around with the parent scale and to see how it would sound. And then finally I was able to get a sense of that scale, and so I tuned these verses and that. It sounded very beautiful. So I would like to share that with you.
Good.
what the author Thiruvallur says is that, even the mighty oceans, at some point it can dry up if the rains don't come. If the rains falters, then our mighty oceans can also dry up. There is a possibility of that. சிறப்போடு பூசனை செல்லாது, சிறப்போடு பூசனை செல்லாது, வானம் வரட்டுமே, வானம் வரட்டுமே, சிறப்போடு பூசனை செல்லாது, வானம் வரட்டுமே, சிறப்போடு பூசனை செல்லாது, வானம் வரட்டுமே, வானோக்கும் வீடு, சிறப்போடு பூசனை செல்லாது, வானம் வரட்டுமே, வானோக்கும் வீடு, சிறப்போடு பூசனை செல்லாது, வானம் வரட்டுமே, வானோக்கும் வீடு. So the meaning of this is, we celebrate, when we have everything, that's when we thank God. When our parents gift us, we thank them. Whoever gifts us, we thank them. When somebody doesn't do anything, we don't walk up to them and say, hey, thank you, you didn't give me anything. So that's what he says, like when there is no rain, then people, they feel that, oh my God, there is no rain, and so it is kind of a feeling of sadness, melancholy. And so they aren't going to be thankful. So when they are not thankful, they aren't even going to go and thank God and appreciate. They would probably go still and ask, oh God, give us rain, oh God, give me money, give me a better job. All of this we will ask. They probably may pray for it, but they wouldn't thank. So that's what he says. When there is no rain, the appreciative thankfulness is also not going to be there. So it's a fact of life. தானம் தவமிரண்டும் தங்க, தானம் தவமிரண்டும் தங்க, இகனுலகம் வானம் வழங்காதெனின், இகனுலகம் வானம் வழங்காதெனின், தானம் தவமிரண்டும் தங்க, இகனுலகம் வானம் வழங்காதெனின், தானம் தவமிரண்டும் தங்க, இகனுலகம் வானம் வழங்காதெனின். The meaning of this is that, when there is no rain, then people, when they don't have enough wealth, they aren't going to go in and do charity. They wouldn't go in. When we have wealth, when we have something, we would share it with others. When we don't have anything, there is nothing to share. So he says, when there is no rain, when it falters, then that is also one of those. So it's kind of sometimes, directly proportional and indirectly proportional. So this is like an indirect thing, that when this doesn't happen, what are the things that get affected? One of the things is charity, and being helpful to others will also not happen, because the positivity in life diminishes. That's what the meaning of this is. நீரின்றமயாதுலகினின்றார்யா, நீரின்றமயாதுலகினின்றார்யா, will, of course, there will be an imbalance, and because of that, so many other functions and discipline will not happen the way it is supposed to happen. That's the. So the next one that I am going to present, this is from the work of the what we call as the grand old lady Avayar. She is referred to as grand old lady. That's how we refer to her. Literally, that when we start learning the language Tamil in our childhood days, when we learn one of the very first thing we will learn is what we call as Avayar's Atichuli. For each of the alphabet there would be a line which tells how we should live our life. Okay, of course we memorize that and then we forget. But she would always be referred to as grandma. So we'll always think of her as our grandma. She is our universal grandma, the grand old lady Avaya. And in one of her poems, she talks about for the prosperity of the country, what all is needed, and she takes it step by step, like a child step. So first she says, Varapuyara. Varapu means, in the paddy fields, typically in the rice fields, there would be a bund around the field, so which would help the water. So when they cultivate rice and some of the other crops, it's not enough to water it, but the water has to stay in the ground, in the ground for the crops, for the growth of the crops. So when the bunds are of a considerable height, it would retain the water, and the water that is retained would help in the growth of the grains. It would bring rich crops. So Varakuyara Nelluyarum. Nell means crops. So it would help in the good growth of the crops, a rich harvest. That's what she means. And then when there is a rich harvest, what happens is Neeruyara Nelluyarum, Nelluyara Kudiruyarum. When there is rich crops, people prosper and they live a good life. And so when people prosper and live a good life, can we say how is it that it is going to help the country, or for that matter, whoever is ruling the country? How does the prosperity of people, how does it help? Can I have one of you answer that? How can we attribute an individual's prosperity, and how can we relate it to the economy of the country? We are not talking about corporate, we are not talking about business, we are not talking about employment. Just the prosperity of, say, an individual or some people, a small community. How does that reflect in the prosperity of the country or the ruler? How can we attribute that to?
If I'm prosperous, I'm more likely to share with others.
Share, and if you are taxed, you wouldn't mind. Right? So, and for the country to be functioning, and for a leader to lead his country and to have all the measures, welfare measures, everything that needs to be done for the people, right? From the modern perspective, we can talk about infrastructure, education, so many things for which they need to be taxed. So we can be taxed only if we have enough, we earn well and we are prosperous. So Avaya says that when the harvest is good, people prosper, and when the people prosper, the country is going to prosper, and when the country prospers, the ruler will prosper. In the sense the worthiness of the leader will be there only if the country is rich. Now, I'm sure, a lot of us from our modern world, from our current world, we can say that when the country is, how many of us remember or can we recall the name of the President or Prime Minister of Ethiopia? Sorry? Yes. And why do we remember? How do we remember?
Lion of Judah.
We probably are able to recollect the name because we have read a lot about the sufferings of the people in Ethiopia, right? So we associate the name. But as a mighty ruler, as a mighty leader, we would always look upon a country that is very prosperous. So that's what she says. The prosperity of the country would also lead in the recognition of the ruler, where he prospers and he becomes a mighty leader. I will go to the song now. The scale that I have chosen, the name of the scale is called Kosalam. This is yet another rare raga, Kosalam, from in the Carnatic music. And there are some compositions in Kosalam. It is one of the parent raga. It goes as now the word Kosalam is the name of the dragon, but Kosal was the name of a kingdom in the northern India, which is now the northern part. The current state is Uttar Pradesh. So the northern part of India. So there was a kingdom at one point which was called Kosal or Kosala, and this is the kingdom ruled by the hero of the Hindu epic Ramayana, Lord Rama, who was the ruler. And Rama and Kosala is associated for prosperity and how a ruler should rule his kingdom, rule his subjects, and what kind of an importance he should give for the people, and how people, so it is like both ways. The people respecting the ruler respecting the people, and everything happens in a very disciplined way, and it is that place, that kingdom was known for a very disciplined, good, prosperous life of the people. So the name of the raga comes from that Kosal, which means very disciplined, very positive and beautiful and prosperous. And I have chosen that raga to reflect upon this composition. heavy rain. So Ilangovadigal says that the rains, of course, it's bring a lot of benefits, bountiful, all of that. The thunderstorm brings with it so many benefits, and what happens, we have seen time and again that there is abundant rain, and then all of that, it's flooded, then it just goes into the sea, wasteful, and it doesn't benefit anybody. So the author Ilangovadigal says that by constructing dams, and it could be where you can store water in lakes, ponds, construct dams across rivers, and also construct dams so whenever there is heavy rain, thunderstorms brings this heavy rain, store it so it can be put to use when the rains fail, or when rain, it doesn't, in most parts of the world it doesn't rain all the time. There are several times in a year when there is no rain or scarcity of rain, or sometimes drought like what we see often. So during those times we can draw or use this water if we store it and use it properly. So he is giving this advice to a ruler, saying when you do this, you become a good king. So this is, we are talking about in the 2nd century, where look at the thought, the idea to store water by constructing dams. Male pinittu means hold the water in dams and lakes, and so that's the meaning of this song. We sometimes talk about cause and effect. So this composition is like that. Again we are going back to the grand old lady Avaya, our universal grandmother. So she says that when a field is irrigated, when water is when the fields are irrigated for growing crops, will that water, because do we give a message to the water saying, it's not like our email delivery where we say this is meant for the eyes of just this person and not everybody, and we can make sure that others don't get to see that. But when a field is irrigated, water is not given that very clear message that you are supposed to be good and you are supposed to take care only the crops and nothing else. It doesn't happen. Even a small blade of grass which is around that will get the benefit of the water. It will get irrigated. And everything else, sometimes we will see people, farmers, when there is a tree, they'll also plant some smaller plants around that, and they would not specifically water the smaller plants. It's only the big tree that will be watered, but this water, whatever that is given for the big tree, that will be, so that will automatically take care of the smaller ones. And in philosophy and also in some of the texts, we often come across this: who is worthy and for whom, like they say, for whom education, who should be given knowledge. So it's always important that knowledge stays in the hands of the righteous person. Otherwise what happens is it can be misused. And we do say often, for who should hold it, who should be the gatekeeper of that, so the benefit of that is spread to everybody. So it's like that when you water the crops, the benefit spreads to everywhere. And so now what is this analogy is that if there is one good person on this earth, even if there is only one person, you can say the last standing person, only one person who is very honest, who is truthful and who is righteous, then rain will come for that person. Which means when he gets it, he would spread the positiveness to everybody else around him, and everybody will benefit from that. The name of the scale is called Desh. Desh means our country. And one of a beautiful national song of ours is tuned in this raga. Very popular, very pleasant, and very hopeful.
Bye.
Good Lord. Introduce my fellow musicians. Renji on the tabla. My daughter, Samyukta, Sam, and Rama, Rajgopal. Thanks to all of them that we could present this nice project today. And I would like to thanks to all of my wonderful audience here for, it's not enough I do the project, but I would always like to share, and I'm very honored that I could share it all with you today. Thank you very much. And my thanks to Arts Mid-Hudson for funding this project. And my thanks to Sandy, who, when I asked her about the space, and she was so helpful, but for Sandy, and thanks to the Morton Memorial Library for offering us the space. And Sandy was very helpful in helping us set up to bring up the slides. Thank you very much, Sandy. And I would like to thank my husband, Shiv, who always helps me with the audio, gives me ideas, who made the slides, and who helped with the setup and everything. And my son-in-law, who have ably assisted in setting us. And so if we are able to sound beautiful, they both, so a very nice family that we have here, who have been very helpful. And thank you all very much for being here and helping us out. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer. If you have anything to ask, please feel free.